Hey everybody, wife and kid are out of town, and I got out of work a little early today, so I figured I would get this video out the door as soon as I possibly could, just so I can stay on top of it. I don't fall behind on schedule here. The second most common message that I got in my inbox when I first opened up the channel had to deal with PTSD, whether it was someone suffering with it or actually from a loved one that was asking for advice on how to help their significant other cope with it. With PTSD, every case is going to be different. The stereotype of the shell-shocked combat veteran coming home all, messed up in the head may not necessarily apply. You can develop PTSD under many different conditions. It doesn't necessarily have to be combat. You can develop it if you're living in an abusive household as a child, or if you have an abusive spouse and you can't manage to get out of that situation. You can also develop PTSD if you are in a traumatic accident or you witness a traumatic accident. Everybody's going to have their own different stimuli that can kind of cause the development of the condition. And I know I've been saying it a lot in my videos and it's sounding monotonous, but in this case I cannot stress enough. Go get professional help. A licensed therapist is going to know how to properly treat your own individual case, and if it's needed, they're also going to be able to prescribe medication. And if you are in the military, this is going to sound like kind of a joke if you really know what dealing with the VA is like, but if it's feasible, if it's possible, and you were in the military, go talk to the VA. I know the military, they used to not want to acknowledge that the condition even existed in the first place, but now they're starting to kind of open their eyes to what's actually going on. But that still doesn't necessarily mean that they want to treat it. PTSD treatment is very, very, very intense, and it's very, very, very expensive. And they really don't want to do anything about it. Also, depending on what state you live in, if you register with the VA as having PTSD, then if you happen to own firearms, you lose your firearms. So there's another kind of a hang up with that. But if you don't want to go see a therapist, there are certain things that you can go about doing to kind of help get through it on your own. Now, this is all anecdotal. I know a couple people that were in the military, and when they came back, they were not the same person, and after talking with them, we came up with some stuff. Now, the one method that seemed to work for a friend of mine was they kept their own individual journal. They kept track of what they went through day by day and what sort of stimuli they went through during the course of the day. And over time, they were able to figure out what actually caused them to have an episode, so to speak. Now, there are some cases to where it is a constant condition. You are constantly in that state, and that's obviously not going to work for you. But if you were able to figure out what your trigger is, you can then go about ways to avoid that stimuli and to just avoid situations where it would come up. Now, if you find yourself unable to avoid a situation like that, it's also important to have a exit strategy, so to speak. If there's a way that to help kind of calm yourself down, go find a quiet room, kind of focus yourself, and you can just kind of go from there, and hopefully that works for you. Now, if you are living with someone who has PTSD, it is very important that you be as supportive as possible. Everyone, like I said, is going to have their own different sort of situation, their own sort of scenario. And when they are suffering with the condition, they are not the person that you knew before they developed it. It's going to be very, very tough, but they are going to need your support as much as you can possibly give it. Tons of patience, tons of empathy and understanding. Anything you can do to help support them, to help them get through day to day, it's going to be a tremendous help. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot else that I wanted to say about this today. Feel free to message me any other sort of little pointers that you have dealing with this, and maybe I'll do a supplemental entry. Other than that, I'll see y'all next week, and enjoy the weather.